So today I want to talk about something that many of us consume every single day, which is caffeine. But did you know it can also give you a real edge in training and racing? Caffeine isn't just about that morning coffee kick in sport, it's one of the most researched and proven performance enhancers out there. And for triathletes, it can make a huge difference across swim, bike, and run. So, how does caffeine work? What's actually happening? Caffeine mainly works by blocking adenosine. That's the chemical in your brain that makes you feel tired. When caffeine steps in, your perception of effort drops. In other words, the same pace feels easier. So much so that research shows that caffeine can improve your endurance performance by 2 to 4%. It can increase your alertness and concentration, which is really useful in those long races when your brain starts to wander a little. And it can help with muscle recruitment and power output, so it can give you that extra kick on the bike or a final sprint on the run. And importantly, it doesn't just mask fatigue, it actually helps your body use fat stores more efficiently, which spares that precious glycogen for later in the race and helps to reduce the risk of you hitting the wall. So how do we use it? The good news is that you don't need anything fancy. Coffee, gels, Coke, even caffeine tablets all work. The key is timing and dose. So the dosage, around 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, is considered effective. So for a 70 kilo athlete, that's roughly 200 to 400 milligrams, or a couple of double espressos. Experiment with the dosage, increase it gradually and find what works for you. Timing, it takes around 15 minutes to start to kick in, but you won't get the full effect for around 45 minutes. So you may want to take it about 45 to 60 minutes before you need the effect. For longer races, topping up later with gels or drinks can help keep you sharp and keep those caffeine levels stable. And remember, too much caffeine doesn't mean better performance. Go beyond that range and you'll likely just feel jittery, anxious, or risk some stomach issues. So, a few tips for using caffeine in a smarter way. Test it in training first. Never try something new on race day. Make sure you've tried and tested it in training in a safe environment. My favourite place to try it first is on the turbo, and then maybe add it into running before you try it with a swim. Then try it in racing, but with a C race, something that's a low priority for you, where you still have some pre-race nerves kicking around to see how your body responds to the caffeine when you have some adrenaline. Understand your tolerance. So some athletes will be more sensitive than others. Work out your optimal timing. For example, I respond really well to caffeine on the bike and the run, but I don't like how it makes me feel on a swim. So for a sprint, I'll take caffeine 10 to 15 minutes before the start, because it doesn't really kick in fully until I come out of the swim. But for longer races, I don't take the caffeine until T1, because I don't want it to kick in while I'm still swimming, because it makes me really anxious in an environment that I already find a little stressful. Mix your sources of caffeine, maybe coffee before the start, then caffeinated gels on the bike or the run, or when you're stood on the start line before the race. And if you're racing Ironman, that flat Coke at the aid stations, it is there for a reason. It is popular for a reason. So it sounds great, right? What are the downsides? Well, in an Ironman, taking caffeine before the start could be a smart move for you if you want to be in the front group or you want to be pushing your swim pace. On the other hand, if you're anxious before the start, the addition of caffeine could increase those feelings of anxiety, so you may want to delay taking it until after the swim. And if caffeine has an anxiety-inducing effect on you on a day-to-day basis, you might find that caffeine is actually detrimental to your performance. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you try that caffeine in training before you take it into a race environment. The other thing to know about caffeine is that it has been shown to increase thermogenesis, which means your body temperature. So it increases heat production, that can put your body temperature up. Now that can help you to burn more calories, but it can also mean that if you're racing in a hotter environment that you're not acclimatized for, caffeine might actually aggravate that body temperature rise and that sensation of overheating. So if you've trained somewhere cool and you're going out to race an event in a hotter country, caffeine might not be your friend for that particular race, even if you get on well with it most of the time. The other downside, your body metabolizes 50% of the caffeine in around 3 hours, which means it takes a while for caffeine to leave your system. So at something like a 70.3 or an Ironman, where you might think that taking caffeine towards the end of your race will be really helpful, in reality it could really impact your ability to sleep afterwards. And after something like an Ironman, recovery is essential. So you may want to avoid taking caffeine in the last 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours of your marathon, depending on your sensitivity, to make sure that after you finish your Ironman, you can sleep and you can recover really well. Again though, this is all about finding the right timing and the right dosage for you as an athlete. Like anything, caffeine isn't a magic bullet. Overuse can affect your sleep and recovery, and if you're constantly loading up all the way through training, you might not notice the same performance bump. Think of it as a tool and use it when it counts. So, caffeine, legal, accessible, proven to give triathletes that extra edge. Whether it's keeping focus in a tough training block or finding that extra couple of % on race day, it's a simple way to boost performance. So give it a go in training, dial in what works for you, and come race day, it might just be your new secret weapon.